Moto One Podcast Network. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Creative Writing. This is your host, the Junkster, and I got a show for you. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. Hopefully it's motorcycle related, and hopefully we don't bore you to death, because on this week's episode, that's what we're going to be talking about. Not boring you to death, but death, misery, and all that jazz.
See if this will do a Willy.
The views and opinions of the participants of the Creative Writing Motorcycle Podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the policy, position, or opinions of the Creative Writing Moto One Podcast Network or any of their affiliates. Moto One made us say that, by the way. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and enjoy the show. This is Junkie. Trying to remember. Oh, I have show notes. Why am I trying to remember when that's the dumbest thing I'd possibly doing when I have show notes? And so in the meantime, maybe I'll try to occupy your mind while I bust out the show notes. And is it January 17th or the ones from today? The ones from today. Everybody, this is episode 366 of Creative Writing Motorcycle Podcast. I should have planned for this and talked about Route 66. Welcome to Route 366 with your boy Junk. And on this week's show, we are going to be talking all about Willys. Just kidding, but that's what we're going to start the show off with. So the title of this week's show is It's Willys, Not Willys. And you may have wondered why that's even the name of the show. And it's because I just got back from an out-of-town trip, and I just have been getting a chance to, oh God, I peaked it with that plosive. Hang on. All right, Junkie had to fix the audio real quick. I did a little, I just did it quietly so it didn't blow it up again. So I've been turned up in the mics. Thank you, interns. And thank you, interns, whoever came over here and broke these headphones. Tobor's here with me, but he can't plug in. Tobor, what happened to that port that we normally plug you in? Yeah, it's missing. Makes me wonder what the interns have been doing around here, or the other shows that record at normal daytime hours. When we get the studio during the nighttime hours, when only vampires can, we should go on a vampire killing spree, Tobor. Yeah, look, even this pop screen, it's rubbing the mics. They don't know how to set anything up in here. All right, let's quit talking about my grievances and woes and talk about your grievances and woes. Whoa. So this week's episode is titled, It's Willys, Not Willys. And I just thought I would talk about this partially because I just got back from a work trip and I didn't really listen to that many motorcycle or that many podcasts, period. And I almost exclusively listened to motorcycle podcasts. So I didn't get to listen to that many motorcycle podcasts. I noticed that I listened to the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast for the first time in a little bit. Normally, those are kind of boring. And so when I listened, I noticed that I went back a couple and started listening to all of them because they were still boring, but they were boring and there was no Jeep talk. And I started to get concerned because, man, Liza was talking that, turning that into the Jeep talk show for quite a bit. And I know that Jeeping and off-roading and motorcycles often goes hand in hand. So I really thought we should dive into this since she's not going to cover. And I just happened to park next to a Jeep the other day and it said Willys on the back. And I know a lot of people always say Willys. And I recently learned, well, not recently, but I learned within the last 5 years, let's put it that way. And I'm 136 now, so it's recent to me. But yeah. Let's take a walk back to 1908, the year after they started racing motorbikes at Isle of Man, huh? 1908, John Willys bought the Overland Automotive Division from Standard Wheel Company. 1908. You know, that's the year that Thor started making motorcycles, or Thor, you know, depending on if you pronounce Thomas or Thomas. Thor in the United States. 1908 was an epic year. We got to go back to then and talk about it. It was a great year. I was a young man. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But in 1908, John Willis bought the Overland Automotive Division from Standard Wheel Company, who was probably making wagon wheels back in the day. And they, make these new wagons that use a motor instead of horses. Anyways, in 1912, he renamed the company Willys Overland Motor Company. And for the next decade, they began to gobble up other companies left and right. 1914, they gobbled up Electric Autolite Co. And I don't know if it was a light bulb company because Autolite was Lite, so maybe they couldn't spell back then. I have no idea. In 1916, they gobbled up the Russell Motor Car Company of Toronto, Ontario, and Curtis Airplane and Motor Co. out of Buffalo, New York. 1917 comes around, they buy New Process Gear. I have no idea what New Process Gear makes, but I'm assuming it's gears and drivetrains. 1919, they buy up Duesenberg Motors out of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And sometime in the 1920s, they gobble up FB Steams Co. of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm sorry, that's FB. Yeah, it's FB Steams. I thought it was Stearns. Let me use this. If I could read my own typing, I typed this and I can't read it. Yeah, it's FB Steams. What a radical name. Anyways, so for like a decade, they started gobbling up some companies. And from 1912 to 1918, Willys was the second largest automobile producer in the United States, the good old US of A, right behind Ford. When the recession of 20 through 21 hit, you're like, oh, that wasn't the Great Depression. I didn't say Great Depression, you idiot. I said the recession. There was a recession in 1920 and 21, just like there was this 100 years later. It brought Willis to its knees, or at its knees, if you read my typing. Walter P. Chrysler, which is what I'm going to start exclaiming when I'm dumbfounded from now on. He came in and salvaged Willis from total loss. They decided to sell off a lot of their assets, get rid of the stuff that was holding. You can't just gobble up companies. You got to make them profitable. So they started selling all this stuff. And by the 1930s, Willis was making small truck-like versions of its Whippet and some other small cars. It got away from the big old trucks like the Beverly Hillbillies used to drive in. Ward Canaday, which is also a radical name, he was an employee since 1916, and he led the company through receivership as a chairman, and on the verge of bankruptcy throughout the rest of the 1930s is how they remained. So with the spread of, they made it through World War I. I don't know what happened in World War I. They were buying up companies left and right over here. World War I was mostly a European thing. And I know that a lot of horses got used in World War I, horses and wagons. If you're a huge fan of Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, he did like a whole hour of one of his 4 or 5 or 6 hour podcasts on the mud. And as a soldier back in those days, you would be walking by and you just see the enemies laying in the mud, trapped, and they couldn't move. It was not quite quicksand, but they were buried. Horses would be buried, munitions would be buried. The mud was there was no roads back in those days. You mostly walked places. So when you get these big old vehicles going across the countryside carrying early tanks and giant guns, just these huge guns, they were moved a lot of the time. Like you would see something in the early 1900s here in the States by horse or by train. So they got through that, and by the 1930s, war is coming around again. And with the spread of the war in the late 30s, we're going to get into it again. So the American Bantam Car Company in Pennsylvania, they were prompted to make some small cars around the American Austin Car Company assets that it had acquired. And their whole thing was, we need to replace these horses and wagons and crude vehicles that were still largely used in World War I. It's been a few years now. It's been, 15 years? And how technology has advanced in those 15 years. Let Let me see. Their salesman, Charles Payne, was a retired Navy commander, and he was also working with a civilian defense contractor named Robert Brown to find a replacement for the horse, which were used extensively, but not exclusively in World War I. That's why motorcycles started to get used also very lightly in World War I, a lot more in World War II. Just horses and wagons weren't going to cut it. And so they needed to replace the horse with the motorcycle, and also the motorcycle somewhat with this new type of vehicle. And so this defense contractor named Robert Brown, they had an idea, and in 1940, American Bantam delivered the first small reconnaissance car dubbed Jeep by an unknown source to the U.S. Army Quartermaster Corps. Well, what was I going to exclaim? William P. Chrysler? Wayne P. Chrysler? Well, Wayne P. Chrysler, wouldn't you know it? They delivered the first vehicle called a Jeep. And I'm not sure where the word Jeep comes from. There's an argument, and we'll actually get into that in a second. But anyways, 1940, American Bantam. The engineers from Ford and Willis Overland were invited to come or were on hand to witness the testing of this American Bantam Car Company Jeep. And both were handed over the specs of the original Bantam design. They said, take these. This is what we want. You guys build them too. We need a ton of them. And in post-war America, post-war American Bantam tried to market their vehicles as Jeeps, but Willis Overland had filed a trademark for the actual word Jeep in February of 1943. And by August of 1943, the Federal Trade Commission had opened a case against Willis. And again, in 1948, another case was opened, and lawsuits and all this and that. And finally, in 1950, Willis was eventually awarded the name, and the Willis Jeep became part of American and world history. So they basically heard people calling these vehicles Jeeps, and even though American Bantam made the very first ones, Ford and Willis didn't even make Jeeps until late 1941. I don't even think Ford delivered any until 42. But, American Bantam ended up only making about, I think it was like less than 3,000 Jeeps. And then Willis came in and basically supplied a ton. Ford supplied a ton. Excuse me. But I think Willis actually supplied the majority of the Jeeps. And actually, the Jeep design was the same, but everybody built them a little bit different. So I think the Willis one actually had a really nice engine in it that was probably better than the American Bantam. So yeah, you can imagine. And if you look at a Jeep, an original Jeep, and you think of little Austins from back in the day, you think, yeah, I could see where they totally came up with this from, like the Mini Moke and all these things that we think look like little Jeeps. It's because they are. They were. The Jeep actually came from those American Bantam designs, and not the other way around. Chrysler or anybody else. Walter P. Chrysler, he didn't make this Jeep. American Bantam did the Jeep first, and who the hell knows where they started getting called Jeeps. But it says they were commonly called a Jeep, and the Willis MB was called a Jeep too. And the Ford actually named their Jeep the GP, supposedly after Jeep, to make it look like Jeep. And when they all started fighting over these trademarks, sadly, American Bantam, who had invented the thing, didn't file the trademark first, and Willis beat him to it. So, yep, there you go. When you walk down next to a Jeep now, and you're looking at it, and you look at the lettering on it, notice that there's no apostrophe. Willis is somebody's last name. And I have the Willis stuff up here, but I'm going to go to mine. John. His name was John North Willis. It's Kanye West kid. Oh, how meta the world's become. But yeah, Willis. That's his last name. It's not a Willys Jeep. All right, let's get out of that and let's get into the next stuff. So Tobor, you can run the boards, but you can't talk to me. I'm a little bit sad about that. We're going to get into the word of the week. We got some highs and lows. We got some events coming up, and then we're going to get into this week's topic. So why don't we get off Why don't we get off with it right now? Let's get off with creative writing. Yeah, get off with it, Sean. It's creative writing. Oh, yeah. All right, let's get into the word of the week. Tobor, drop me in a hot lick. And do not, I know you don't have a tongue, but just drop in the song. All right, Tobor, I like it. This is an old, this used to be the outro music for our very first episodes. So, excuse me, this week's word of the week is, God, I wish these cans worked, man. The interns, we gotta kill them, Tobor. I didn't say that on air, did I? Oh my God, no. The word of the week this week is tractor. And this was probably decided upon based on the Willys conversation that we had. And with that, Tobor will now sing the national anthem of Robotistan. All right, that was it. And the word of the week is official. If I say that word that rhymes with trash compactor, we should make up a sweet rap. And then, like, if you freestyle and you accidentally say it, you're busted. So yeah, the word of the week is official. I cannot say it. If I do, you shall get something from the box of junk. And if I've owed you something, if I said the word of the week on last week's show, nobody's claimed it yet. So if you go back and listen to last week's show or the week before, pardon me, nobody has claimed any of the last 3 shows yet. So if I probably didn't say it is why, but if I did and you hear it, go on ahead. Come on to my house, as Rosemary Clooney sang. Or was that George Strait that sang that? Or the other guy, the other famous guy. Anyways, yeah, so nobody's claimed it. It's up to you. You do you, boo, and claim the word of the week. Get a box, something from the box of junk. Let's get on with highs and lows. Tobor, throw me another stinger, bad boy. Thank you, sir. This is our magical track, Butt Rock Saturday Night. I made this on a Saturday night, actually. I love this bass line. Let me just listen to it for 1 sec before we get to the highs and lows. Yeah. All right, we're going to get into this week's highs and lows. I had to play that the other day just so I didn't forget how to play it. Because you know me, I don't write half of the crap I play down. And then when I do, I'm like, how did I play that? And I got to go write it down so I can replicate it and copyright it officially. So yeah, oh God, I got 2 tracks overlapping here. Tobor, what's going on in this world? Are we sane? Are we insane? Are we in the membrane? Wait, what's this? Yeah, we're going to have to wait to get to it. I think we have another song in here, Tobor. Anyways, highs and lows. Let me get into these. My lows this week, they're not even that really low. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the stinger we should have had. All right, we'll replace these, Tobor, right here live in editing. And I'll put Butt Rock Saturday Night right after that. So if you're listening right currently, you're hearing Butt Rock Saturday Night. When I was saying Butt Rock Saturday Night earlier, you're hearing Halt to Space, or whatever you call that one. All right, cool. Now let's listen to this bass line. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That's not as good as the opening one. But anyways, so long story short, highs and lows this week. My highs, ton of highs, couple lows. I wanted to say that if you are in the San Gabriel Valley and you're east of Pasadena and west of Azusa, I guess you'd be east of the Kinaloa Mesa and west of the what's that debris basin that's up there, the Saw Pit debris basin. I think that might even be, that might be west of us still. I don't know. But anyways, if you're around, if you're along the foothill communities up there, please check out Operation Healthy Hearts. Go to Operation Healthy Hearts, and my wife, my glorious, beautiful, smart, intelligent wife, has been doing some stuff at a community fridge, and also Operation Healthy Hearts. They are gathering up food and providing a pop-up, if you will, pop-up markets for people that are in need of food. Maybe you You don't want any of the stigmas that come around with being, low income, sought after by certain law enforcement agencies at this time. Maybe you're just agoraphobic. Who knows what the deal is? Come on down. Operation Healthy Hearts is here to keep you fed and get you the basic necessities that you need. And also check out the various community fridges across these foothill communities. I really love that these little towns that we are part of are giving back to their community members and looking to strengthen and grow people no matter what their situation. I'm always down for that. Hell yeah. Let's listen to this bass line while I dig on the fact that my wife's a bitchin' person. Hang on one sec. I really went crap on the guitar there, didn't I? Yeah. Anyways, the song's almost over. God, these cans are terrible, Tobor. I don't want to keep disheartening the listeners with it, but I can't stand these things. We need to get a new. I think it's a plug. I think some of the interns or whoever was recording came over here and just started like banging on the plugs and stuff. Like it looks like they smashed a couple guitars in the studio. It looks like they record live music in here. And they have punk bands play toy instruments, and they smash them and break them everywhere. So that's one of my lows. My highs is that we have such a great community around here, and we taking care of people. And a little local bookstore here just got their nonprofit status, which is really nice. And they have become the aforementioned community fridge, and it's really great. Some lows this week, and this is probably going to segue into this week's show. Lows, man. More and more crashes, and that's because it's summertime. There's more motorcyclists out on the road. America is one of the countries with the most registered motorcycles, I believe. I'm just saying that. It's probably totally untrue. There's so many other countries that actually rely on motorcycles for daily transportation, the way America relies on cars and mass transportation. So I just said that. But as an American, it feels like, there's a lot of motorcycles out there. And since it's summertime and it's riding season, first off, I hope that nobody's baking in the heat. There's a lot of heat happening this week. This weekend, this probably forecast for the next week and a half. There's going to be a lot of Midwest and northern heat, probably all the way up in Canada. I think I saw Pine Drop. You may have remembered we interviewed her, the artist from Canada, and I think she mentioned something about the heat. And I was like, whoop, that's when you know it's hot, when Canadians are talking about the heat, and they mean it's not just a 56 up from 42. So yeah, sounds like there's just a huge heat wave baking the country. So if you're out there riding, especially with the scooter cannonball going on right now, please, stay safe out there. Especially, that's ending in Texas. So I don't know you're going to be driving across like the backside of the Mojave or something right now. Please be careful, in this heat. If you drive across and down, I'm not sure if there's an official route that takes you, out, past the Sierra Nevadas first and then down through the deserts of the Southwest on the backside, or if it keeps you on the coast side. But whatever, stay cool to your traveling in the mornings if you can, if it's gonna be hot, and stay hydrated. So that is one of my lows. The other low that transitions right into this week's topic is, like I said, the amount of crashes I've been seeing, simply because it is summertime and there's more motorcycles out, and we should talk about that. We actually will talk about that. And let me see. Is that it? Yep, highs and lows. That's about it. I'm not going to ramble on like I normally do with highs and lows. That's good. That's brief. And that's enough for me. Let's do, why are all my tabs are closed. It's almost like Tobor was in here looking for some weird parts on, I'm going to have to reset all. Tobor, this is very awkward to do this live. When we should have had this all show prepped, and I thought we were, and now I feel really weird coming in here. And oh my God, where did all of our events go, Tobor? You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding. We didn't publish any of that stuff? Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm looking at our website right now, and we didn't publish half of that stuff. You got to be kidding me. There has to be a mistake here. I know what it is. Tobor, you came in and started looking for all sorts of stuff, and you started crossing out my events. Oh my gosh! I hope there's a draft of it saved. This is terrible. Well, because everything on here has already happened, Tobor. That's why. So listen, the only thing I have that's upcoming on here is the Scooter Cannonball, which is happening right now. It'll be ending the 29th, which is going to be coming up here pretty soon. We are flying right through this month. Yeah, the Scooter Cannonball is probably halfway through right now. Started a couple days ago. June 27th through 29th is Motoblot, which is motorcycle and music rally, 3 days and 4 nights in Chicago, Illinois. October 5th, I have down here 2. So we did start to publish something, and it got gobbled up. That is amazing. October 5th, the 2. I'm going to pause right now because I'm really upset that we didn't get any more of July or August happening. I know I had the Vintage Motorcycle Days up there, which is happening in July. I know I had a bunch of stuff for August, and it says October. Did somebody come in and hijack our... Guys, this is crazy. I got to take a quick break. I got to fix this real quick, and I don't want to bore you anymore with doing it live on the air. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to find out what happened to our whole list of events that we had on here because I didn't write them in the show notes because I put them on our website. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Tobor, I know. I see you shaking your head. It probably wasn't you. I'm just saying. So let's take a couple quick breaks, and I'll be right back with the events. Sorry, folks. For over 131 years and several months, Klobman's has been supplying quality pickles to motorcyclists the world over. Legendary icons such as Sylvester Roper, Oscar Hedstrom, William Harley, Bessie Stringfield, Frank Willoughby Cotton, Evel Knievel, Nicky Hayden, and Soichiro Honda have all quenched their desires for a thick, juicy pickle sliding across their greasy, willing lips with none other than a fine specimen from Klobman's. Join the Hall of Fame, win your first race, impress the judges, put a Klobman's in your mouth, and a championship trophy on your shelf. Klobman's, not for dreamers, for doers. Klobman's, the only pickle for motorcyclists.
Texting him back. I'm just posting a story. I'm just changing the song.
No. When it comes to distracted driving, just don't. Sending a text takes your eyes off the road for just 5 seconds, but in that time, your car can travel the length of an entire football field. Any distracted driving just isn't worth it.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Looking for a high-quality leather that doesn't cost an arm and a leg? Well, not yours anyway. Try Kreider's, made in the USA from 100% renewable resources. We don't use fancy hide like kangaroo or elk, nor do we use other imported hides like jaguar or okapi. Those animals are scarce and protected. We extrapolate our hides from a unique source of marsupial. Not a wallaby, though, if that's what you were thinking. Kreider's leathers are made from the United States' most renewable resource, the common opossum. The common opossum is so common, in fact, that thousands of hides go to waste each year on American roadways. We don't believe in letting these valuable garment farms end up in the city dump, especially with a looming leather shortage on the horizon. Kreider's is dedicated to rider safety, and a low overhead is our #1 priority. Visit Kreider's today and we'll fit you up in new skin. Possum skin! Kreider's, the cheapest leather you'll wear. Visit Kreider's now. We're located down by the stream behind the old recycling factory. Kreider's Leathers.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's Junk. That's about how I feel, man. There's so much missing from... Anyways, here's what we try to do. We try to go back and salvage some of these. So Scooter Cannonball is going on. Born Free just happened. That was on our list. And then I realized the list is old stuff. Born Free being what just happened. Didn't get to make it to that, by the way. But yeah, there was a lot of good looking stuff at Born Free. from what I saw this year. So, all right, what do we have? I said Motoblot. That's already happening, or that's going to be happening June 27th through 29th in Chicago. Music, motorcycles, art, all that fun jazz. 3 days, 4 nights. July, there was more stuff in June. I just can't find our list, and it's not in my computer search. That's the weirdest thing. It's like somebody went in, some goblin went in there, and deleted all of the internet search history. Why would they do that? Tobor, I'm looking at you. Why would you do that? Anyways, July, we're going to jump straight to 10th through 13th is going to be the Harley Davidson Homecoming Rally. I'm going to also say that July, I just got an email that the AMA Vintage Days is happening. I'm going to look that up real quick because that's pretty important, and that's happening in July. All right, that's July 25th through 27th, so the end of July. So thank God we didn't miss that one. August. Why do I have November up there before August? August 1st through 10th is the 85th Sturgis Rally. How could I forget that one? 85, folks. And they missed a couple here and there, I think. Or didn't have the biggest ones here and there the last couple of years. And that's one, I don't even know how the heck we didn't have that on our list. I'm sure we did. I'm sure it got erased. So anyways, the 85th Rally happening the 1st through the 10th in Sturgis, South Dakota. October 5th, it just says Two-Stroke Extravaganza. I know this one. This is happening here in Camarillo or Oxnard, California, and it's happening, the person whose place it is happening at just recently passed away, I think, or passed away right after last year's event. So go to it, pay some homage to the man who lent his facilities to the event. And I went to this before. It's so cool. You'll never see so many Yamaha YSR 50s in one spot, plus every single crazy scooter, bicycle, rattled bike, a bunch of RD, a bunch of Yamaha stuff, and a bunch of Suzuki stuff, basically. And then a couple rare Hondas. Anyways, go to that. There's always going to be some crazy stuff there from all over the world. Two Strokes were nuts for many decades. And I do not have, I'll get that before next show. I'll get it's happening in October 5th. So we got a little bit. I'll get that actual notes. And there was some stuff in September. I want to say there was something happening in some town called like Crimwich Train Alley in the UK, and it was between like these two towns, and they couldn't decide. On one ad it said one town, and the other ad it said the other town. When I looked it up, it was smack dab in the middle of them in Derbyshire somewhere, and I forget what it's called, but it looked cool too. It was like the classic British bake-off motorcycle show in Crimwich train station village or something. Tramway Court. I have no idea. It looked like some magical place in the UK. I think that was happening before all this October stuff. But anyways, we're skipping from August to October. We got October 3rd through 5th, Babes Ride Out is happening in Southern Oregon, in Crescent, Oregon. I wonder what that town is shaped like. If it's a crescent or a croissant. October 11th, Moto Beach Classics happening here in Bolsa Chica State Beach, California. That also is a couple days of surfing, skating, motorcycles, music, art, fashion, you name it. Roland Sands puts it on, so it's probably going to have a round of the Super Hooligan National Series there being raced on the beach. November 6th through 9th is the Lone Star Rally in Galveston, Texas. Texas is, I think, besides the ROT, one of the biggest rallies in Texas. They also do a Born Free in Texas. Check that out. I'm going to publish this now. Publish. I'm going to save this. Publish. Before we lose all this, Tobor. And I don't want you messing with the computers again. If you're in the UK, the ABR Festival is happening June 27th through 29th. I have no idea what that means, what that even is. I better be like the something racing, awesome bike racing festival. I have no idea. And then the X Enduro, which is that the EX Enduro. So I'm guessing it's X Enduro. I don't know. Is that an actual Enduro? like a hard enduro race. That's happening September 12th through 14th. And in Australia, October 17th through 19th is the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix. You'd think I'd be wise and put the dates all in order, but I just went by country. And then we don't have anything for Canada. Nobody in Canada ever tells us what's going on, eh? I'm sure you guys have like motorcycle events, eh? I'm just going to have to look at them for myself and find it. There was also some oyster run happening in Washington state that I cannot find and do not know where that one went, but that one looked like a lot of fun. And there was also some cruise heading out of Long Beach, a motorcycle rally cruise. So just a bunch of motorcyclists, and that was happening pretty soon. I think that was happening this weekend or, yeah, like the next couple weeks. Next weekend, this weekend, I have no idea at this point. I'm lost now. I don't know what happened to all of our events, but there were some cool ones. If you got a cool one, do me a solid. Email us, creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com, and send us your event, and we'll stick it up on here if you think it's something that people want to see and do. Most people do. Most people don't make events because they don't think people don't want to go. That's how we run them. But anyways, let's get into, let me look at my show notes here. Tobor, it is time. We have done, oh no, what's looking creative this week? Give me a little stinger for that, my good man. Oh yeah, this is junk with a crappy drum machine and a 3-string guitar that I made, cigar box rendition. What's looking creative this week? For the life of me, I'm just going to let this play because to distract you from my lack of what's looking creative. I had something that looked creative this week, and now I can't find it. Here's my brain. Yeah, might as well. And for good times as also. I cannot remember. There was a race bike that I was looking at, and I was like, nobody's going to want to hear about what looks creative this week because it's a race bike. But it was so cool, and I thought, oh yeah, this does look creative, and it's not like that X-Mach Chuchash motor from a couple weeks ago that was that they just took and made like an aluminum body. I gotta cut this music, Tobor. Now that the headphones are actually working, that bass was just killing me. I couldn't hear myself think. Anyways, yeah, it was a race bike, and I thought, man, that did look creative. And of course, it was like Born Free weekend, and it was nothing from Born Free. And it was nothing from some crazy bike XF. No, it was really good stuff, and it was a race bike, and I just kept looking at it, going, man, this thing, and now I can't remember. I was looking at KTM, like SM. Excuse me, I can't remember what the hell I was even looking at. What KTMs I was looking at this week, but I was looking at some old 90-something KTM or some KTM that's like 15 years old now. I don't remember. So I couldn't tell you what's looking creative this week, I guess. That's pretty lazy of me. I did see a Bandit 1200 on Instagram. I have no idea who made it, but that one looked pretty sexy. I'm just going to say that awesome looking, totally stripped down Bandit 1200, no fairings. It was a naked bike. It was like a Street Fighter sort of style, but it was almost like Japanese steampunk or Japanese diesel punk, I guess they call it. Because Japanese haven't done steam since like 1802 when it was old technology. Hang on one sec. Oh, got to reach over for my Reeb. Anyways, yeah, it was because it was very, very Japanese looking, but I don't think it was a Japanese company that did it. Anyways, you look on the internet, you find a sweet looking Bandit 1200 that's been stripped down and looks like a Street Fighter, but not like your typical like European Street Fighter. It looks like a Japanese style Street Fighter, or maybe an Italian style Street Fighter. And you tell me, hey Junkie, this is your bike from last week. I'll send you something from the box of junk if you do that. And only one of you. I'll have to notify everybody else that somebody already did it. But anyways, so that's what was looking creative to me. And what honestly, it was that race bike. And I really wish I could remember what it was now. Of course, I didn't have my notes with me and I didn't write it down. And it's been a fleeting moment kind of week. So my bad. Bike updates. Ooh, bike updates. Well, I will be, I'm finally back. I'm actually leaving town again. I'll be back for a couple days this week. I'm going to try and actually get out, to do the vid for the Patreons that I was talking about last week. Oh yeah, we'll do this awesome video. Well, I forgot I was out of town last week, and I did not get any of the fiberglass video done. The part 2 or part 3 that I'm working on done, and so will I get it done this week? We'll have to see. There's like 2 days left before I'm out of town, so we'll see if I can get it done in 2 days. In those 2 days, I have a bunch of stuff in my free time that I got to do. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow night I'll do it. Late at night while everyone's asleep, I'll creep out here to the or not out here. If I creep out here, I'm not going to get anything done. I'll be sitting here in the studio again for day 2. I will creep out to the garage at my abode at Chateau de Junkie and trying to get that fiberglass video done, maybe. And then what else, bike update wise? Yeah, nothing really. I can't think of. I've been watching a lot of restoration videos since I haven't been out doing stuff like that, and it's been really therapeutic. That and scooter cannonball videos and our boy Johnny. I've been texting Johnny. I've been getting texts from Johnny. Johnny Roundtree out there crossing America one way at a time, one day at a time on his Harley Davidson, and tried to get him for an interview last week. Did not happen. Maybe I could get him this week. I guess I won't be making that video if I'm going to be doing all this other stuff before I leave town again. Anyways, but yeah, Johnny, he's been having quite an adventure. I just caught up on all of his last final videos on YouTube today. Had a chance to watch the last 2 that I didn't have a chance to watch. And what a journey. What a journey. If you have a chance to interact with Johnny, hit him up on social media, whatever you can. And, I don't know if he's got like a, buy me a coffee set up or anything like that. But man, the dude is crossing the country on fumes and a wing and a prayer. And so, yeah, he could probably use a little bit of help. He's had a couple things go sideways. So if you haven't caught up with that saga, didn't listen to our last episode that we had him on, go for it, do it. And, reach out if you got some help that you could throw his way while he's heading back on the open roads of the United States. It's basically like crossing 2 or 3 countries in the UK. So I'm in the UK. I'm an idiot. In the UK, but I'm saying Europe. That's what I meant. It's like crossing the UK 8 times. Let me see. What else we got on our show notes here, Tobor? We have, main segment. So let's get in right to it. Do we need more music for this? All right. Whether we need it or not, we got it. This is going to be our main segment. Main segment of this week's show is bike safety. Oh boy. 7 people just turned off the podcast, dude. But I'm glad that you're still here with me, because bike safety is not something I usually like to talk about. I don't really care about bike safety, but I was thinking of something the other day, and this beautiful song, I love it. It's by me, but I'm going to have to pause it here real quick and fade it out because it's ever so slightly distracting to talk over, and I bet you're going to be able to hear it loud and clear once all this gets flattened out in the post-production. So motorcycle safety, not something I normally talk about, but it's something that people ask about quite a bit, and people reach out about, some stats, some numbers, this and that. The Hurt Report was a good, we did that a few years ago, delved into the Hurt Report, which is an old report, 1979, I want to say. And then when the Berkeley, I think it was UC Berkeley and the California Highway Patrol codified lane splitting, they came out with this whole report to back it up. And so that was the updated, I wouldn't call it the Hurt Report because the guy that wrote that one, John Hurt, was that his name? Phil Hurt? I don't know. Willy Hurt? That was an actual, totally separate, based on the 70s. This was based in 2014, I believe, was when the California one happened, 2014, 2016, somewhere around there. And that one honestly updated a lot of the stats, what would you say, reinforced a lot of the information, but really gave us like a new, fresh, updated look at the way people are writing. Had been like 45 years. It's about time we updated it, right? So, long story short, I got some new information now, updated information from carusolaw.com, and then I delved around, and the whole reason I'm even bringing any of this up is because I've been seeing video after video. You know, once you start watching a video, the internet's got you because there's algorithms on everything. You watch one Brazilian guy doing a wheelie with flip-flops and no shirt on, and the next thing you know, you're going to be watching 25 Brazilian guys or girls doing wheelies with flip-flops and no shirts on. That's just how they do it in Brazil. And it's great stuff. Talented writers. But when it goes wrong, boy, does it go wrong. Lots of videos from, I don't know, they're all over, actually. I get them from, I was going to say lots of videos from Asian countries as well, but I mean, I get stuff from all over the place in my feed, so it doesn't really matter. The spectacular ones and some of the ones that come from my my subscriptions on YouTube, those ones are actually, I don't know, when I was thinking about it the other day, I was like, yeah, that's kind of expected, you know. You're watching some stunting, you're watching some ride outs, you're watching group rides. Stuff's bound to go wrong. They don't always film it, but it always happens. And that was evidenced the other day when I was watching Saronster and Parker Pittman riding around some Stark Vargs. Now, Saronster, I've never interviewed, but we interviewed Parker a while back when he was the official stunt person, and he gave us the walkthrough on Super 73 motorcycles. I think it was back in 2019. We did that interview. It has been a bit, man. That has been a bit. It's been 6 years already. So Parker has gone on to do lots of other things and partner with other companies and go back to supermoto racing, building. I don't know what he's building now, but he's like a foreman. And he's been doing a lot of stuff. And I was surprised to see him with Saronster. I did not expect him to see. I've seen him with Josh Herron. I've seen him doing a bunch of other jazz. Did not expect the Saronster electric bike thing to happen, but it did. Now, it also turns out that Stark has made a street legal Varg, and that's what Saronster was showing on his page or on his video. And the great thing is that, man, these things look awesome. These bikes look, I don't know. I didn't look up to see how much it was, but I've been getting emails from Stark, and then I saw that video, and I was like, that's probably what it was. I didn't bother to read them. I get so many press emails. I barely have time to read through all of them. But the ones from Varg, they've been telling this little story, and I figure that's probably what it is. It's probably announcing that they're going to go legit and have a street legal bike. And I think that the thing had I think he said the dirt bike was unlocked at 80 horsepower, and the street bike that he had was locked down to 40 horsepower. So the dirt bike version that has like 946 foot-pounds of torque, if you look at their website, that's what it used to say. It was like a 900 something pounds. That was when they were riding, Parker was initially riding, and that thing was hauling. And the reason I bring up safety, twofold. Partially, when the video very first started, Saronster's hands are tore up like you put him in an acid bath or got shot with somebody shot at him with rock salt out of their 12 gauge, and he put his hands up to defend himself. His hands look terrible, which tells me he went down on the street with no gloves on. And that started getting me thinking about safety. And then you watch the video, and they're doing like 90 miles an hour through LA streets on electric bikes that you can't hear. You can't really hear bikes coming. There's this thing called the Doppler effect, and loud pipes don't actually save lives. Riding like you're invisible saves lives, which is great, and that's kind of what they were doing. But he almost crashed his brand new street legal Stark Varg, which I'm sure is going to be like $20,000, $15,000-$20,000. He almost crashed in his car in the video. I'm glad he left that part in so that you could see the reality of the situation. But yeah, they were hauling. Made me feel like I was 92 years old. Hey, youngsters, what's the rip roar about? Why you're going through traffic like that? I was just thinking, like, it's just crazy. They obviously know what could happen to them. They ride motorcycles, right? What's this? Yeah, there you go. That's the Suron right there. Or not the Suron, that's the Stark. Yeah. That's the Stark Park. That's the electric bike? Yeah, that's the electric bike. They're tearing through downtown LA. But no, they were on the, electrics. Nobody could hear them coming. They're just whipping through. And I was like, man, I'm an old man because I would never do like over 50 on that thing. It looked like they were doing like 90 through traffic, just whipping through. And I was like, okay. That's one thing. The fact that they were just in shoes, and I mean, the guy had on he put rubber or latex gloves and then his riding gloves because his hands were that jacked up that he didn't want to get them dirty from his riding gloves. Always wear riding gloves. And that brings me to other videos that I've been seeing lately of people doing stunting, especially this guy that had his girlfriend on the back and he's doing a hot wheelie. They eat it. The first thing she does is puts her hands out. I was like, oh my God, I already know what her hands are going to look like. They're going to look like Sir Ronster's hands. And then she went over and laid in the grass, and she had a camera on too. So it's her point of view that you're seeing this whole time. And she was just like moaning, and she's like, my whole backside hurts. And I just felt for her because she obviously landed like on her tailbone or her tailpipe and her tailpipe probably. And also just hitting your ass on pavement like that and jarring your spine. It hurts. Like if you fell off a pogo stick and landed straight on your ass, it would hurt. So simple things like that, simple safety things like that. I've really been like, man, some of these things are just crazy that I've been in my feed lately. I don't know why. And the last thing I'm going to tell you about and bore you with is the guy who was doing, he does a lot of stuff on Calamari Race Team. He's doing like 150 miles an hour. I think he went over 150 at one point, and then he like turns around to look at the car that he was racing and turns back and gets head shake and then turns into a tank slapper basically. And when he falls, he's slowing down. It starts at 150. He's doing 150 miles an hour when he gets a severe tank slapper. And he starts to weave and wobble across lanes, and there's nothing he can do about it. He's coming up on this car, and he's going to rear end it. And I don't know if he grabbed a bunch of front brake. Like, what else are you going to do? Or if he hit the back brake or what? But this thing was head shaking so bad, and it's taking him across the lanes involuntarily. And I was looking at the speedo, and it was I think it had just hit 120 when he fell down. I think it was somewhere between 120 and 115. So this guy hits the deck at 115 miles an hour. It hurts to hit the deck at 35 miles an hour. Triple that, and tripling that isn't even. Yeah, that's like we'll just say tripling it. 115 is what I'm going to say he was doing. Even though I think it was a little north of that on his speedo when he hits the deck, goes under the car, and his helmet cam, which is what you're watching the whole time, starts to catch pieces of his body as he's crumbling. That means his neck is tucking into his own body. He's turning into a pretzel as he's flipping down the highway at 115. And it reveals that he's wearing nothing but gloves and a helmet, and his t-shirt is shredded. And I slowed it down and went frame by frame, and you see the moment he goes down, the ground is super rough. I'm guessing Texas asphalt. I don't know why I think it was Texas. It looked like Texas to me, but the asphalt is super rough freeway asphalt. He hits that. Immediately, the next frame is things are happening so fast that you're just getting, the frames are like, not even telling the story. It's like a picture of his hand. The next frame, it happens so fast, it's just his arm. Missing skin already. Second frame of this guy hitting the deck, his arm's missing half its skin. Third frame, he's tumbling and you just see t-shirt. And you're like, oh God. And then the fourth frame, t-shirt's ripped. Fifth frame, more hand with more skin missing or arm. Sixth frame, pants come into view. Pants are shredded, and I think he might have had riding shoes. So really, this dude had gloves, a helmet, and maybe riding shoes, and that was it at 150 miles an hour. At least he had squid armor on, you know what I'm saying? So his pants are shredded, and I'm sure he had some. I think he had tattoos, and I think I saw some road rash appearing on it in the next couple frames. His arm definitely got grinded because I'm telling you, the first frame was his hand reaching up to the ground. Second frame was his arm, and it was already missing. Like as soon as he hit the deck, just layers went off. And then the third and fourth, when you see his t-shirt getting ripped and all this and that, and then the subsequent frames after that, the t-shirt's got blood on it now. So he's flipping down the freeway, and then it flips to the most terrifying one of all. And it's the view of him stretched out, sliding behind the car at 100. Let's just say he slowed down to 95. His t-shirt is now up around his neck because it got pulled up by the asphalt. His pants in the front are completely shredded and his legs are showing. And so that means he's sliding on his back with no protection. Just his t-shirt got ripped up and you see his full stomach and his pants. And I'm sure that his pants burn through to his ass eventually. Takes about, like, I forget what it is. It's like less than a second to burn through jeans. So yeah, 95 miles an hour. I'm not even sure how long that dude flipped. I think the video cut before he quit moving actually. So dude, falling off your bike at 120 miles an hour with just a helmet and gloves on and possibly riding shoes, but maybe Vans. Dude, squid armor. It's a real deal. So that's what got me thinking about this week's show. And sorry to bum you out with all that. And if you have a queasy stomach and you've puked all over your work station or your couch or wherever you're listening to this, I apologize. But I wanted to talk about some things. And you hear this notes flapping, this Caruso Law paper that I was talking about a minute ago. We're going to delve into a 2025 study of the deadliest and safest states for motorcycle riders. Before I get into this, I'd like to flip to the back, the very last page of this. The fair use statement. You are welcome to use the data and findings from this article for informational and educational purposes. Please ensure proper attribution by clicking or by including a link back to the original article when sharing or republishing the content. I will try to put that on the show notes, but since this is an audio format and you may never read, and you probably can't read, that's why you're listening to the podcast, and you like motorcycles, so that's proof you probably can't read. It is www.carusolaw.com. And the slug is the deadliest states for motorcycle riders. I will try to put that in the show notes. If I don't make it, that's my attribution. Go look it up online. Read these stats, even though I'm about to read them to you. So motorcycle safety has long been a concern on the road. This whole thing feels a little bit AI, and it's very vague and inconclusive if you ask me, but they probably just wrote a little abstract for their law firm to get you, let you know they got your back. They may be a Caruso Law Office, could be a motorcycle lawyer for all I know, but here's what they found. They used the FARS, which is the Fatality Analysis Reporting System from 2020 to 22. So this isn't a current year crash statistic. Those usually take a little bit to figure out, and they're usually a year behind because you have to get police reports and they have to label each one. And we just did massive cuts to the government for people to do stuff like that. So I don't know if there's actually people tracking this crap anymore. But so it spans 20 to 22. That's 3 years, 2021, and 2022. That's a good 3-year chunk of data. And I thought this was weird. It says, let me see. It says changes in vehicle classifications in 2020 made earlier data unsuitable for drawing reliable comparisons. So I don't know what changed. And this says that they're in Albuquerque. So I don't know if that's something that changed in Albuquerque or not. Anyway, their analysis says that it's found the deadliest states for motorcycles, and it identifies the states with the most significant increases in fatalities and the role of alcohol and helmet use in these events. So that's probably what we're gonna be working on here. The key takeaways from this thing is that there's 3 states that made their 3-year run of deadliest for motorcycles, most dangerous, most risky for motorcycles in the United States. So if you're visiting from out of the country and you end up in one of these places, be very careful. It's Florida, Texas, and Colorado. The 3 places you never want to ride a motorcycle anyway, right? At least Florida. Nobody likes riding motorcycles in Florida. And that's probably most of these deaths were probably attempted suicide, and they just came off as traffic fatalities. Hang on one sec. I need to take a sip of this Guinness draft with the. It's got like some custom, lovely day for a Guinness can. It's awesome. Hang on one sec. Wetted my whistle. I realize the only time I drink is when I'm here at the studio podcasting. And so it makes me sound like a total alkie because every time you hear me, I got a beer in my hand, or I've just gone camping or to some motorcycle show and like had a bunch of beer. That's really the only time I drink. So up your butt with the coconut. I'm going to wet my whistle with a nice Guinness. So Florida, Texas, and Colorado, respectively, the three most dangerous states, at least in that 3-year gap. I'd like to do 23, 24, 25, 3 years, and see if it still has follow this trend. And that'd be interesting. Maybe old Junkie will do a study. I'll tell you what I'm going to study. I'm going to study my pillow pretty soon because me and Tobor are going to get out of here in a little bit. And the motorcycle fatalities were up in those 3 years. It says in the last 3 years, but that's those 3 years. And in 2022, specifically, there was 6,219 motorcycle fatalities in the U.S. due to crashes. I don't know if they measure like heart attacks on motorcycles differently. I don't know if they measure like your motorcycle tipped over in the garage and crushed you differently. So, I don't know how any other thing. It sounds like this is a specific number, specific to actual crash style collision. I think I prefer collision. Texas had the highest average annual motorcycle fatality rate at 13.69 deaths per 10,000 registered motorcycles, and that was followed by Arkansas and Missouri. And I'm pretty sure they didn't say anything, so I'm pretty sure that that's for 2022 only, because they haven't broken sentence since they said those stats. In other states, like South Dakota, which is where Sturgis is going to be pretty soon, like a month from now or so, they've experienced a 45% reduction in motorcycle crash fatalities in that 3-year data set from 20 to 22. So that's good to hear, because I swear, like in the last couple of years, we heard that it was up. It may have been a post-COVID lull that they're doing these tests in. Maybe if I did them for the last 3 years, it'd be way high. Who knows? But anyways, another key takeaway here: Harley-Davidson riders the least likely to wear a helmet, with 48% of those in fatal crashes not wearing a helmet. 48% not wearing a helmet. But let's put a pin in that and come back to it. The deadliest states for motorcyclists. They have a table that didn't print out on my notes here, but it does have which states. So I'm not going to look at some table I don't have. I'm going to look at the recording table here in the studio. Oh, it's mahogany. How do they afford that? Which states have the most fatal accidents? And in that 3-year span, it was actually in that 3-year span, we had 17,825 motorcycle fatalities in the U.S., which is crazy because I believe that in that same span, accidents, traffic accidents were 40,000, just above 40,000 something. So I don't know if they wrapped motorcycle into that number too. That's a high percentage. Motorcycles play a high percentage in the overall traffic fatalities, if that's the case, and that's a little nuts. There was 5,955 deaths annually, so just about 6,000 deaths, with Florida, Texas, and Colorado being the highest risk states for fatal crashes in that order. Florida takes the top spot with nearly 2,000. I'm just going to call it 1,900. It was 1,918. So we're going to round down to 1,900 motorcycle fatalities over those 3 years. The warm climate, the year-round riding, that said that contributes to just being able to ride year-round. So California should therefore also be part of that stat, right? But 48% of riders involved in fatal crashes were not wearing helmets. And that ties very closely to the 48% of Harley riders in deaths or that have deaths don't wear helmets. But it didn't say that it was specifically Harley riders. It just said 48% of riders didn't wear helmets in Texas that had fatal crashes. That's interesting. And then 15% had a blood alcohol concentration of over the legal limit. And Florida's motorcycle fatalities continue to rise. That's interesting. What else is rising? Butts. Everyone's going to Florida for Brazilian butt lifts and also eyebrows and cheekbones. Texas ranks second with 1,598. So I'm going to round up like I rounded down for Florida, and we'll just call it. We'll put 2 from Florida in here and call it 1,600 fatalities over those 3 years. Texas, the state has extensive road network and motorcycle events. We just mentioned a few of them at the beginning of the show. Lots of roads, lots of rallies, but helmet use in fatal crashes was 67%. Slightly higher than Florida, it says. And additionally, 18% of riders were impaired and 16% involved speeding. So in Florida, there's no speeding. It doesn't look like. I mean, that wasn't a factor, at least like a huge factor. That was not a huge factor. Mostly it's being wasted and, just living in Florida, being terrible, not wearing a helmet, all that fun stuff. Texas, 67% of people were wearing helmets, so that's interesting. Makes you wonder. And then finally, Colorado. Let's get into Colorado. It takes third place, and why Colorado of all places? Well, the risks in Colorado stem from its mountainous terrain and scenic roads, according to this article by Caruso Law. And they reported the highest proportion of fatalities involving speeding or racing, which is 40%. That's a lot. It's like almost half the deaths from speeding and racing. And 52% of non-helmet use. So 48, let's go back. This was the pin I wanted to put in this. 48% of Harley riders didn't wear helmets. Now that doesn't mean that all Harley riders died that didn't wear helmets. But it was a striking trend to me. And then also in Florida, let me see their numbers. 48% of riders involved in fatal crashes were not wearing helmets. Well, when you flip to Colorado and you see that a significant rate of non-helmet use was 52%, doesn't that mean that that's more than Florida? Like 52% of non-helmet use and 40, that's like, I don't know, it didn't necessarily say that 52% of the fatalities weren't wearing helmets. It just says that 52% non-helmet use. So I don't know if that just means that like they're assuming since 52% of the people in Colorado that ride motorcycles don't wear helmets, that's contributing to their deaths. I have no idea how they're tying some of this data together, but it does. It is what it is, right? Are they declining? Are motorcycle deaths declining or increasing? Well, this says, according to the FARS numbers and all this and that, there's an 11% increase across the U.S. from 2020 to 2022, just in those 3 years, an 11% increase. That's massive. Motorcycle crash deaths continue to rise despite a steady number of motorcycles on the road. So what this is saying that motorcycle numbers on the road, if those increase, of course, you're going to see crashes increase. You're going to see services increase. You're going to see breakdowns. You're going to see all the stats increase if there's more of the thing on the road, right? But they've remained steady, and just the crashes have got more. So I don't know what that means. The highest states, Alaska, had 100% increase over those 3 years. But for me, that tells me this. That tells me, let's just say Alaska has 25 riders, and 2 died in last year. Fell into a frozen lake trying to cross the ice road truckers thing, whatever it was, froze to death. Who knows? This year, 4 people got attacked by a moose while on their motorcycles and died, or like a bridge collapse or something. I mean, dude, to increase 100% does not take very much if your death rate was so low the year before. Perhaps one person died. Perhaps one person got eaten by a grizzly bear or a walrus or something. And then this year, one person, slipped and fell through a hole in the ice, and another person got eaten by a grizzly because they were riding during the summer times, or they got bit by mosquitoes and crashed into the trees because they were swinging around their hands at mosquitoes trying to slap them off, and they made them crash. All it takes is one more person to die. If you have a super low death rate, is all I'm saying. Is I don't think Alaska is any less dangerous to ride in. I think it's just the fact that one more person died than last year could be 100% for them. And same thing with Hawaii, 84% increase. I mean, there's people all over Hawaii that ride, and you get 2 tourists that die one year. And that does, that's 84%. Delaware was 50 and Arizona was 48. So they kept track of like the top 5 here, I guess. Or was that 4? Yeah, the top 4. California, here's the top 5. California, known for having the highest motorcycle use of all the states here, and one of the highest number of fatalities, also boasts one of the largest and most comprehensive motorcycle training programs in the country. So despite these safety training efforts, it experienced a 13% rise in fatalities over those 3 years. Just because it says the sheer volume of riders, along with rider behaviors, road conditions, blah, 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 blah. I see it this way. Colorado, man, being the third on the most dangerous, we have the same stuff. We have people speeding. I bet you if they delved into these numbers in California, they would have found the same thing. It's probably mostly speeding. It's probably a lot of falling off mountains in the canyon, falling off the twisties or crashing in the canyons, racing. This dude that was doing 120 that fell off his motorcycle, it looked like Texas. Texas looks a lot like most of California, at least the southern California, the desert parts. It could have been California that this guy was doing that crap in, falling off your motorcycle at 150 miles an hour on the freeway. I don't suggest it. But yeah, California, this is what I'm talking about. California has the highest number of motorcycle use and also the highest number of fatalities, which makes sense. You have more of the thing. What their numbers were, what they talked about in the beginning was the number per 10,000 riders, and that's probably much lower in California. Although I do see crashes all the time. People hit the twisties up here. They think that they're, they think that they're Michael Dunlop up here in the canyons. And it turns out they're Guy Martin, and they just crash all the time. So that's it. People eating crap in the canyons or on the freeways. It doesn't mean that you're safe when you're on the freeway. Splitting lanes. I mean, splitting lanes is safer than driving between 2 cars, but it's still risky. Hell, just driving a car on the freeway is risky, right? So the highest decrease in motorcycle activities, that was South Dakota, which we saw with the 45% increase. Way to go, South Dakota, because for a long time, people were talking shit about Sturgis and how many people ride without helmets and how many people die because they don't know how to ride Harleys through these twisty, beautiful hills. Everyone can suck it, especially California, for having the highest and largest number of fatalities, and South Dakota has decreased it by 45%. So then again, the 10 fatalities that happen a year at Sturgis may be their total number for the year. And then one year, like 20 people died, or like one year, 10 people died still at Sturgis, but then another 20 died when a huge freak rainstorm came and everybody got washed off the road and eaten by grizzlies. I don't know what it could be that South Dakota also has very low numbers, and they decreased it by half because only 5 of the people died this year. These numbers, it doesn't give us actual numbers, just percentages. So that makes it a little bit harder to tell. But California can eat a big bag of donkey dongs because the state that hosts Sturgis is decreasing year over year, and we're rising 13%. So the other ones, Wisconsin had the second greatest drop at 28%. Way to go, Wisconsin, home of Harley Davidson, the motorcycle brand that everyone bags on for people not being able to ride, wearing their safety do-rags, and admittedly, even according to this report, the brand whose riders have the least the least amount of occurrence of wearing a helmet. Helmet use is the lowest among Harleys, but Wisconsin, home of Harley, bringing down them GD crash numbers. And then what was the last one? Kansas. It's hard to crash when you can only ride in a straight line. So clap, Kansas. Also 24%. Again, only one person fell off a bike this year instead of the 4 from last year. So, or the only 3 fell off this year. I don't know where my math's going with that one. 24% decrease. And then this article delves into when most motorcycle fatalities happen. I'm going to give you a guess. You go ahead and guess. I'm going to, soundboard. Having troubles. Must turn down. All right. I'm going to give you a guess. I'm not this. Yeah, there we go. I don't have it. I thought I had the thinking sound music. I don't have the thinking music. I'll just do doobie 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 doo. Yeah, it happens in the summertime, genius, when most people are riding. You got it right. Now, helmet use and the blood alcohol concentrations was the other factors in some of those deaths. So they touch on that. So let's us delve into this. An in-depth look at helmet use among motorcyclists. No kidding. Fatalities between 2020 and 2022, those 3 years, 2020, 21, and 22, 61% of motorcycle fatalities involved riders wearing helmets. So what it tells you is that wearing a helmet doesn't guarantee that you'll live. Wearing a helmet guarantees that you won't smash your face on the handlebars in a slow crash. If you get ejected over the bars and land straight on the top of your head, your brain won't cave in and spill out of your mouth as you somersault. It does not mean that it's going to save your life. The rest of your body can still get crushed. So it doesn't even mean that your neck is safe. So a helmet is a good place to start. The dude that uploaded his video, I'm guessing he uploaded it, the guy that fell off at 150 miles an hour. So I'm guessing his squid armor did protect him and he didn't die, but I'm guessing he was in a lot of pain. And if he hadn't had that helmet on and he crashed at 120, well, he was doing 150, fell off at 120, flew under a car, captured it all on video, it'd be hard to mount a camera straight to your skull, but it would also probably mean that you didn't survive all that. So even if you're battered and tattered, at least you could still be alive if you have a helmet on. But does it guarantee life? No. 36% were not wearing helmets. 4% had unreported or unavailable data. So 36% of involved riders not wearing helmets died. And that's a big, that's almost a 60-40 split, right? So 36, that 4%, I have no idea. Maybe, they didn't take notes at the crime scene, or maybe they didn't think it was that big of an observation. But let's just add that 4% to the 36 and say it's a 60-40 split. That's roughly where it lies. So wearing a helmet is at least 40% good. So it's a good start. I'm not going to read all these other helmet things that they have, but I do want to get to the blood alcohol. Where's that? Oh, yeah. What percentage of fatal motorcycle accidents involved alcohol? Well, this is going to surprise you. Nationwide, a substantial proportion of fatalities involve drivers with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 or higher, which I think is the federal illegal limit. So that's a lot, 17%. That's actually not a lot. That's lower than I thought. So I'm guessing racing and speeding was the ones that are partially taking people out. There's always the car that turns left in front of you, or the deer that runs in front of you, so you swerve right into a dump truck. That stuff happens. But 17% is a pretty good chunk of change. States like New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Wyoming have higher percentages with blood alcohols above the legal limit. New Hampshire at 40%. I'm going to guess that New Hampshire isn't a helmet state either. So let's add that 40% of fatalities being drunk with the 40% or 48% that aren't wearing helmets. And let's just say you're almost 80% guaranteed to die if you're riding a motorcycle in New Hampshire, because you're going to be drunk. You're not going to have a helmet. You might not have pants, but you're going to be dead. And let me see, Rhode Island. Yeah, the same states when they had severely impaired drivers with a blood alcohol level of 0.15. Those same states kept popping up. I'm surprised Wisconsin, as much as people talk about Wisconsin being a brewery state and people loving beer and cheese curds, you guys are doing pretty good. You guys are not doing bad at all. And then states like Mississippi, Arizona, and South Dakota have the lowest percentage of fatalities due to blood alcohol or being drunk or riding impaired. And you would think at least Mississippi, everyone would be hopped up on hooch. Arizona, I'm not so sure about. South Dakota, I'd always have a beer in my hand. I don't know. You guys are doing great, especially South Dakota. Like, listen to South Dakota getting all the applause, according to this report. And then, does the make of a motorcycle impact the likelihood? They tried to quantify that. And Harley-Davidson's ended up being in the lead with rider and passenger fatalities of 6,477 and 923 deaths, respectively. That's a driver or rider and passenger. And then it says Honda and Yamaha also rank among the top, but this aligns with their popularity among riders. And Harley-Davidson, I do have to say, in the United States, they claim to be the number one seller of road-going bikes over, I think it is, might be over 750, might be over 900. I forget what their classification is. They've had to reclassify themselves a couple times to be the top. I think it's over 900. But yeah, they did that in the 70s when Honda started selling everything below 700. They could be 750 and above, and they still sold like half of what Honda does. But you gotta imagine Harley-Davidson. This is their home country. It'd be like if you heard about BMWs crashing a bunch in Germany or Bavaria or wherever. You'd be like, oh yeah, BMW, that's the factory there. So Harley-Davidson is very popular in the States. So of course they're going to make up a lot of the crashes. I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't tell you unless the MIC lets me look at their sales data, if that's true that there's more Harleys than anything else on the road. I think that there's quite a mix these days, and it's just coincidental. I've dropped a note. Tobor, can you levitate that up? Can you get it myself, Tobor, you bum. I know you don't want to come out of the booth. I was just kidding. So let's dig into this. Harley-Davidson, if you ride a Harley, you're gonna crash and die. For alcohol impairment, though, Suzuki and Kawasaki. So I don't know why that makes sense to me. So they're the ones that seem to be loaded all the time. And if you think of Gixxer Bra, that makes sense. And Max Wrist, I don't remember if it was Gixxer Bra or Max Wrist that I just saw on the H2 on the Internerd. And so Gixxer being a Suzuki and he's on an H2, which is Kawasaki, that makes sense. He's one of the, maybe Gixxer Bra has 9 lives and he's partially a fault for some of these. In terms of helmet use, Harley-Davidson riders stand out. 47% of the fatal crash victims don't wear helmets. That's larger, like more than double of all the other brands. And then regarding speeding and racing, Suzuki riders have the highest proportion. And that makes sense to me because if you remember Nokomoto Boys talking about Gixxer Bro behavior, that's huge. So, 22% of fatalities linked to speeding and racing on a Suzuki, with the Yamaha at 20 and Harley's at 9%, because Harleys don't race or speed. They're very, compared to these other ones, are pretty slow. Then they go into the methodology that they used, and they let you know how all this is. And like I said, they used the fatality analysis reporting system, and they did it to the numbers in relation to 10,000 registered motorcycles, so that's how they got their percentages. And their fair use, once again, to attribute this, I'm going to tell you, if you want to read the same report and see the tables and all the fun jazz I'm talking about, go to carusolaw.com And then the slug is the deadliest states for motorcycle riders. I'm going to throw this in the trash now that I'm done with it. Actually, I'll put it in the box of junk. If you want to see my highlighted notes, and I've said the word of the week this week, I'll send that and a few stickers to you. How's that? And something else from the box of junk, just so you don't leave you high and dry. So let's move into the last, now that we're an hour and a half in, let's move into the last section of the show, which is how to get safer. Now, if you watched On Any Sunday, you know that they said, don't let your friend's uncle show you how to do it. I don't know. Your friend's uncle could probably show you how to ride. But Dad's always going to show you how to ride because Dad doesn't want you to get hurt. So if you have a dad, if he didn't go to get milk many years ago, you're in good shape. Have your dad help you. Even if you're like 34 and your dad's like 70, what would that make your dad, like 70, 63? I don't know. Yeah. Always ask Dad. Even if your parents are like, don't get a motorcycle. You're like, I'm 34. I can do what I want, right? So I'm gonna get a motorcycle. Have dad or mom teach you. Mom will teach you the right way. Dad will teach you the acceptable way to get you on the road. And they never want to see you get hurt, so they'll always help you. So get a good old parent out there to help you, or don't do a sibling. Siblings will try to kill you. The first thing they're going to do is tell you the wrong way so that they get all the money and the inheritance. So the other ways, if you don't have a sibling and you don't have a mom or dad and your Uncle Bill's friend, Ted, the weird neighbor that used to ride, it can't show you, you can always go to this place. And I'm going to tell you about the MSF. Now, that's the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. If you go to MSF dash, or not, is it a dash? It's not a slash. It is a dash. MSF-USA.org. You're going to reach the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. I do not know if they use the Harvey Lee Parks, or they use some other thing nowadays. I think they've transitioned away from whatever they used to use. I think they're using a new writing system for anybody that's worried about that. And I think that you'll be fine. And I want to say Lee Parks. I want to say that's who they're using. And I don't know if it's the, I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't taken a motorcycle test since motorcycles had pedals. So don't ask me. But here's what I did want to say. The Ride a Motorcycle Safety Foundation now has motorcycle riding courses for new and experienced motorcycle riders. If you go to msf-usa.org, you're going to see on the very first page, let me scroll up here. Is this the first page? I believe it is. Start your ride, improve your ride, and advance your ride is all on the homepage. And when you scroll down just about, I don't know, in metrics, what is this? Half a scroll. You're going to see start your ride, improve your ride, and advance your ride there in a little infographic of how the courses work nowadays. So it's really cool. They have your first ride. Then they have, right after your first ride, they have dirt bike school, which I thought was interesting. And then they have your basic rider course. And then they have your basic rider course for 3-wheel. So, excuse me, back when I did this, I just showed up to a class and I took it, and I went down to the DMV and I said, hey, I took this class for a whole weekend. Instead of just riding around your parking lot for 20 minutes, I actually went to a weekend-long class. I took the test and I got my license. And then I also got like a pretty good deal on my insurance for like the first year. And then they saw how I rode, and then they were like, oh, God. So anyways, I think this is interesting that they have your first ride, then dirt bike school, and then the basic rider course. So I'm not 100% sure what all of this entails, but I thought that that's a new trajectory. Like, that's a new way to look at things. And then the fact that they have the basic rider course for 3-wheel, that also, I mean, good for you. You're embracing the old, the trikes in the world. And we're actually going to talk about trikes next week. 10 year. We're going to talk about, we've been talking about 10 years. This past few, the show's turned 10 this year. And we're going to talk about some 10-year-old trikes. Excuse me. But yeah, they have the basic rider course for 3-wheel vehicles, and that looks like a Can-Am on there actually. Then after that, they have in the Improve Your Ride, they have the Basic Rider Course 2 for the license waiver. See, that's a little different than when I went. Basic Rider Course 2 Skill Practice, and then the Rider Skills Lab, which sounds pretty cool. And then if you make it past those 3 steps, you get into the Advance Your Ride with the Adventure Bike Rider Course. What? Because now you're actually in, you've done the Basic Rider Course 2 to get your license waiver. You've done the Basic Rider Course 2 to do some skills. Then you did a Rider Skills Lab and really developed your skills. Now you're going out and you're actually shopping for that bike that you're going to throw away or that you're going to get once you throw away your trainer. You probably went out and bought a cheap Rebel or an old Ninja 250. Maybe you even got some 650 or some 1800 piece of junk, like an Intruder or something out of the garage that Grandpa had. Now you need your real bike, and everybody wants to go ADVing unless you're like 20. Once you get your 29th birthday cake and you eat it, you're like, that tasted kind of weird. Trust me, the next year when you hit 30, you're gonna be like, hey, ADV bike, and I'm gonna go tell the guy down the street how to paint his mailbox. You just start turning into like an old person once you hit 30, and ADV bikes is where old people's wheelhouse. They love it. So it's interesting that they have an adventure bike rider course as the next step on there. Then they have the advanced rider course. Then they have advanced rider course skill practice. And it's funny because on the advanced rider course, they show it looks like an FTR. On the advanced rider course skill practice, it looks like a huge bagger. So you're either getting a Goldwing or an Electric Glide Ultra Limited. And then they have the Rider Skills Lab for that group too. So they really do have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 steps now in this 360-degree rider training program. And I thought that was really interesting. That's the Basic Rider Course license waiver. Dude, maybe there's a deal where you can get your license waiver at the thing instead of having to take the class and then go to the DMV. Or maybe you take your Basic Rider Course on this, one here. You skip the 3-wheel because you don't have a 3-wheel. And the next day you do your Basic Rider Course 2 license waiver. I mean, maybe I did the same thing, but they're just calling it different nowadays. But that's an interesting curve. I really like it. What's your motorcycle skill level? They have, you can choose from those. Are you a new motorcycle rider? Are you an experienced motorcycle rider? Are you a 3-wheel rider? They have a license qualification course, which is the Basic Rider, the 3-wheel rider, and then the Basic Rider 2 license waiver. So that's pretty cool. And then they have a bunch of online learning. They have the Basic E course, Street Strategies, Human Factors, Basic Rider Course E Package 1 and E Package 2. It won't let me click on any of those, so I don't know if these are fake links. Am I getting scammed by this website? It's msf-usa.org instead of org. But anyways, no, it's really cool. And just to see there's a developed rider program now. It's not tiered licensing or any of that other bullshit that people want us to do over here in the state, or people always talk about in the States. And I'm like, brother, come on, freedom, brother. Take the MSF if you want. If you don't want, just go down to the DMV, do a little test for 20 minutes, and still then take the written test and still get your bike. If you can ride, you could ride. But anyway, so yeah, that's the MSF. I don't know what else you would take. I'm sure like each state has their own little version of the MSF, but that's that. If you're in the UK and you're feeling okay, you can go to www.gov.uk and then / and the slug is finding motorcycle training. And what it does, it says cookies on UK. Oh, they're telling me about their cookie policy. It says find a motorcycle or moped CBT, which is the compulsory basic training. And you can go in there. You can put in your postcode. I don't know British postcodes. It's giving me the example of one, and it looks like the call sign on an airplane. So I'm not going to type anything in. Find a postcode on Royal Mail's postcode finder. I'll do that instead of typing one in. Yep, factory lane. I'm going to do that. Here, see that my cookies, see that I'm not here in the old, see that I'm not in the old Werber Derber. Here, we're going to do High Street at Market Harborough. I don't even know where this is. I typed in DER because I can type in Derbyshire, and it gave me something. So there we go. Well, look at there. There's nothing in there. Oh, look, you can get a Welsh version. Version Cymraeg, it says. So yeah, old Junkie Turdman happens to be Welsh. I never told you that, did I? Version Cymraeg. I'm going to click this and see. Oh, look, Dodo Hidi Gyfeiriad. Yes, nice. So look at that. You can do it in Welsh if you want to. Forget every... drop all your consonants. Anyway, there was nothing in there. I don't know. It didn't help me find one, but you can go there. You can find one. If you are from the UK, you obviously know what to enter. Enter a real address. And now I'm on a blacklist. It won't let me come over there. One of the things I found was Phoenix Motorcycle Training. And Phoenix Motorcycle Training says it's the largest training school in the UK. And they have a try ride where you can try to ride for $40 and it's an hour long. And I'm guessing that that's kind of what the MSF is doing with your first ride. Because then there's the pre-CBT, which is $40 an hour. The CBT, I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean dollars. I meant pounds. Jesus. The CBT is 180 pounds, and it says it varies by center. And then the CBT Plus from 110 pounds. And then the motorcycle theory test for 23 pounds. And I don't know if you have to take all that stuff. Because it keeps going. Then there's the full license training for direct access, which is the DAS. That's 790 pounds. Holy shit. This says if you want to get a permanent motorcycle license or move up the CC ladder, full license training, also known as direct access, is what you need from 790 pounds. Maybe that lets you skip. I don't know. Everyone's talking about tiered licensing, and then they're like, hey, brother, here. Hey, brother. Hey, bruv. This is the UK version of skipping straight to the fast track. And then there is fast track motorcycle training, experienced riders only. And that's 690 pounds. And then they have advanced riding training, and it's 200 pounds. So and then pro skills introduction. Dude, the list goes on and on. I'm not going to go, but Phoenix seems to be where it's at, dude. Like, you go here, there's module 121 motorcycle skills. That's one's for free. That one, you get a 121 motorcycle skill training session available to anyone with a full license or CBT certificate who lives, works, or studies in any of the 33 London boroughs. I don't even know what that's for then, if you already have it. But yeah, dude, then the Beyond compulsory, Beyond the CBT, and that's free, funded by the TFL, which is the Titty Football League. I don't know. There's, oh my God, if you want to become an instructor, it's 960 pounds. But yeah, so there's a ton of stuff. Dude, if you're in the UK, they got training out the wazoo. Go to Phoenix. I'm going to quit blabbing and just tell you that. Don't trust me. Go to Phoenix. If you're in Australia, you can go to stayupright.com.au. And they got New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, ACT. What's that? And then TAS, which is Tasmania. That's not in Australia. Is ACT Auckland? Why would it be a T? So New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, whatever the hell ACT is. Am I missing a region? I mean, I know I didn't say half of the stuff. Anyways, yeah, go to stayupright.com.au, or you can go to mylicense.sa.gov.au, and they have rider safe training, and they'll teach you all sorts of stuff on there. Smarter, safer drivers. They got heavy vehicle license. This must be like the DMV sort of safer, smarter drivers. Yeah, mylicense.sa.gov.au. And this looks like a government page to me. But yeah, they got like all the rider safe trainings on there. They got the rider safe basic training, the advanced courses, all that cool stuff. So yeah, I guess to wrap up, the long of the short on this show is do fun stuff, have fun, go get your training, go get your do the license the right way. And be safe. And then, I don't know, if you want to F around and find out, you can do it. Sir Monster and all those guys are doing. Do what all these mini bike guys are doing. I've seen a bunch of guys. There's unrest in LA right now. There's not really rioting anymore, but there's a lot of unrest and just people wanting to go see what the action is. We're being militarily occupied right now, and people want to go find out what that's all about. Hey, look at this fun new thing that's happening. The military's here. Before they, start shooting us, let's see what we can do. So there's been a lot of mini bike and motorcycle guys down there. Actually, mini bike guys. No motorcycle guys are around. They're all up in the canyons, ignoring all this. But a lot of mini bike guys and electric bike guys are going down there, and yeah, they're getting tore up. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what their end game is to do all that stuff, but it's a war zone, and then you can go down there and you can do that stuff, and you can ride 900 miles an hour through traffic on an electric bike and with no plates on it and all the illegal stuff. So, but do the good stuff first, and please don't become a statistic and end up in the what was this again? The Caruso Law paper and Junkies future study. So don't do that stuff. I don't want that to happen. And last, before we leave you with this show, I just wanted to say I've been watching the Scream movies with my kids. Why? Because summertime is horror movie time for some reason. You'd think it'd be Halloween, but no. Or Samhain or any of that stuff. But it's not. It's the summertime. And we've been watching the Scream movies, and I love how Scream movies are almost as bad as the 70s. At least in the 70s horror flicks, like people got their heads chopped off and they died, or people got an arrow through the throat and they slowly bled out. In Scream, you get stabbed in the stomach and you're dead, right? Or you get stabbed in the chest and you die. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I bringing up horror movies? Well, because if you want to see some real horror movies, like I said, I made the mistake of watching one crash video in my feed. The algorithm got a hold of me, and now it's delivering me crash video after crash video after crash video. And on Reddit, before, there probably still is some communities they're getting around some of their filters and lockdowns. But there used to be this community that was like very gruesome and grotesque. Would show people that crashed in front of a bus and the bus ran over them and they just popped like a ketchup package or a sauce package. Not great stuff to watch. Nightmare fuel if you're queasy, weak, or have a low constitution. But if you're somebody who's crazy like me and is like, dang, I do not want that to be me, let this be a cautionary tale. You see a few of these. And in India, it happens quite a bit. India and Brazil, the two places where people do crazy stunts on bikes and tend to eat it a lot. People do crazy stunts on bikes in the U.S., don't they? Yeah, but they usually at least have motorcycle helmet, gloves, and Vans. So when they fall down doing 150 miles an hour, they get massive road rash, but they do not get some of the wounds that I've seen on other countries, webcams and not like rider cams, road cams, dash cams, all that fun stuff. The reason I bring up Scream, the reason I bring up horror movies is in the horror movies, you get an axe to the head, you fall down. You get a knife to the guts, you fall down. In real life, you may get a pair of handlebars or a grill to a small sedan to the face at 37 miles an hour, and it is grotesquely more destructive than an axe to the face at 15, 20 miles an hour, however fast you can swing an axe. Even if you can swing an axe into someone's face at 30 miles an hour, it's not getting hit by a whole car or a whole instrument cluster as your face goes into it, or having your bike flip over on you and smash your head. And these people are getting up and walking away with half of their head hanging out, half their brain's gone, their eyeball dangling, and their nose is now in the back of their throat where their face used to be. Some of these people have like leg and arm lacerations that I cannot believe that just like gallons of blood isn't spilling out of their body, and obviously the people run over to help them real quick. But the ones that I've seen from India are the most disturbing, because that seems to be where people just don't wear helmets at all and smash their faces into every single possible thing, be it the ground, be it the car that just hit them, be it their motorcycle, face hitting their motorcycle when they rear end something or get rear-ended, fly up in the air and land face first on their peg, whatever it is. In India, there's a huge problem with people's faces being just torn in half, and they're still walking around, and the people with the cameras are like, dude, like filming them with your phone going, I don't know what to do, guy. Like, your face is in half. I've called the emergency services. So when you watch a horror movie and somebody gets stabbed in the guts and they fall down, just be reminded that that would be a very peaceful way to go as opposed to reality. And I guess my reason for bringing all this up is I'm pretty at-gat. There are times where at-gat might mean a t-shirt. You know, you're riding a dirt bike in sand. Maybe at-gat isn't like 94 pounds of gear, but maybe it is. I've been listening to a lot of people talk about motorcycle crashes in the dirt and off-roading, and they're like, no, we gear up because, especially if you're going to be riding trails and rocks and stuff like that, and not just sand around the campground, that's one thing, or around the campground at Mid-Ohio or something, that's one thing. But you start to get anywhere where there's rocks, dirt, sticks, stuff that can go through your body, you start gearing up, right? So I guess there was a huge campaign in India a few years ago where the god of death, I believe it was the Hindu god of death, they had a person dressed as him, and he was going by handing out helmets for free to people in India because that's how little used helmets are. And I'm not pointing fingers at India. I know that there's plenty of countries that I see where people do not have helmets on. And India is just the one where I get fed from my algorithm the most. And I know that a lot of other countries have helmet laws. You know, you'd think like, oh, South America. No, when we were in Colombia, you had to wear a helmet. And everybody had a helmet on, even except for the dogs. The dogs and the chickens did not have helmets. Everyone else had helmets. India is one of the places where just lots of people commute on two wheels, and sometimes they have 3 and 4 people together, and sometimes those people get in accidents, and not all those people get up and walk away. And so, yeah, it's crazy, and it makes me think about being at-gat, and that reminds me of wrapping back around to the beginning of the show, or what we were talking about earlier. Sir hands, even that fool, even somebody that you respect, the guys that you see. You know, I love watching videos. I'm not gonna start naming out names now, people that ride dangerous and dirty, but you love to watch these guys on YouTube doing wheelies and doing stunts and stuff like that on little scooters even. And Sir, he's on electric bicycles, really, like electric motorcycles, I guess technically. But his hands were just chewed up. And that makes me think that like a lot of these other guys that have been doing this stuff for a bit, had they made videos way back in the day, they'd be chewed up half the time because they're out there in flip flops doing wheelies too, like, you know, on scooters and whatnot. And I love that stuff, but at the same time, I ain't about it. I need these babies to write and type. And yeah, it's dumb, but I would gear up on anything I rode, mini bike around someone's backyard. At least I'd have helmets. And after reading Dan, we interviewed Dan on episode, I want to say 27, maybe 24. I think 24 was Michelle. I think 27 was Dan. Fabulous writer, wrote his entire life. Turned, I think it was when he was 50 or 49. Gets on a dirt bike and screws his leg off, basically. Yeah, so because he didn't have boots on. And so, man, like, you never know what's going to happen. So I guess my big takeaway from the show is you do you. You know who you are. You know how you ride. You know what you're comfortable with. And if you're cool with losing a digit or two or getting scratched up because you don't look like a nerd, that's fine. I'm super at-gat, and I would make all my kids gear up. You know, when they ride, they got to gear up 100%. But if you don't, cool. But yeah, just remember the consequences. I'm not going to put any video links or anything like that in here, but I'm just going to tell you, I've seen some horror stories. People are going to start looking as ugly as old Youngster. And with that, we are out of here. Please leave us a review. I hope you like the show. First of all, I hope it didn't bore you. And if you're getting into writing, hope I didn't scare you away. please leave us a review wherever you find this podcast, wherever you got it, wherever you're listening to it out right now. Either comment to us in here on the show. A lot of places you can comment now. Almost every place I've learned recently, the Apple Podcast has switched to transcripts. So basically every place, I think except for SoundCloud, has transcripts now of the show. You should be able to look back and see the word of the week. Do that. Interact with us however you want, whether it's sending us a piece of email at creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your worst crash story if you want to. Write in and tell us whatever you want to. Did something spark? Do you think the Jeep was Willys, instead of Willis? Whatever it is from this episode, give us a shout out. Write us in. Like I said, comment, review in your favorite podcast app. You can contact us. Check out our blog at creative-writing.com. I got it updated with some of the stuff that was missing from the events. We'll see how we did. Check our show notes. We have contact info for Tobor. Yes, Tobor is waving right now to me, giving me the cut sign. We got to get out of here. So he's we're going to go home soon, but yeah, he checks his email once a year. I don't know, Tobor. We have our Discord link on there if you'd ever like to join us for Discord. I kind of got some stuff planned for Discord later this year. We'll see how it happens. As I said, you can email us, creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram at Creative Writing Podcast. Check us out on Reddit at creative_writing. Don't go to the other one, you naughty bird. And you can always support us on patreon.com/creative writing or check out our merch, zazzle.com/store/creative_writing. That's a lot of nonsense. So just look in the show notes for that link. And do not forget, this is my closing bit for you. Do not forget that last week we mentioned that Solstice Slam is starting. And Solstice Slam this year, I believe I said... I should go back to last week's show and listen. I believe I said Solstice Slam this year comes from the Discord conversation that I had with Celtic Skeleton about bikes. And I want you to dress up your bike like your favorite movie this year. Solstice Slam is currently open. Dress up your bike. Tell us, like cosplay with your bike, basically, Drive it somewhere cool, dress it up, go to a show, win a contest. Do it up like Warhammer, do it up like Wicked. I don't care what you do it up like. There's a lot of cool horror movies, speaking of Scream and getting wrecks and looking like a terror film. There's lots of stuff coming out this summer. The cool new movies. Do not do it up like Fonzie. No, I'm just kidding. Do it up like whatever you like. But take a pic, send it to us. You can send it to creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com, or alternatively, I would love you to send it to slam@creative-writing.com, because then I will know it's for the Solstice Slam, and I won't have to sort through a bunch of Gmail mails and goes, was this one for a Solstice Slam? So that's it, and I'm out of here. Junk and Tobor, he's waving. Hope you all have had a great week, and talk to you next week. Don't crash. Don't become a statistic. Don't be like Willis Overland Company and start buying a bunch of other companies going out of business. And see you on the flip side next week. Dawson. I know Dawson's supposed to be on here with me, and Johnny, probably. So stick around for next week's show. We're going to talk about 10 years of creative writing and 10 years of the Polaris Slingshot. I love you guys. Bye.